Panic is ensuing in California. A new outbreak has caused issues. Not only that, we see that there is a new strain of something that's making people bleed from their eyes. How crazy is that? When you thought things couldn't get any wilder, welcome to 2024. Let's talk about these things today, because really the preparation for this is a clean and healthy diet, building your immunity up. And they said all these diseases, all these viruses, all this stuff, these sickness outbreaks would not happen if people would just have higher immunities. Well, if you eat healthy and you take care of your body and you run like we just got finished doing, you can heal your body and get away from all this. But let's jump into these outbreaks because they're important, especially in the fact that these are in populated areas and we need to know about them. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up. That does help us share our message across this platform. It means the world to me when you do that. Also remember, you're entered in giveaways. We give away hundreds of dollars worth of stuff every month to our subscribers. So please comment below and tell us what you think about the story. Now, today's video is all about sickness outbreaks. And the reason I want to bring these up is not the fact of scaring you. It's the fact that all we have to do is just get a better diet, strengthen our immunities, and a lot of this stuff will bypass us and we'll never see it. But I want to bring some things to your attention. We talked about the H5N1. Guess what? They just came out with a story that the places that got hit with H5N1, the dairy farms, if you remember us talking about that just a few weeks ago, that the bird flu was causing bleeding from the eyes. It was making people have fluid and blood coming from their eyes. Now that's absolutely crazy. Very bloodshot, very hemorrhaged. So that is some of the symptoms they're seeing with the fact that now we have the avian flu going from chickens to livestock, now to humans. We called this a year ago. Now that's not the story for the day. Now it's pretty freakishly weird now, almost zombified, you know, but we have to worry about that. To heal that, again, drink quality milk, build your immunity, and make sure you know the source that you're buying your milk from. Now let's talk about today, this California outbreak. We're starting to see tuberculosis back again. More than anything we've talked about, more than all the little outbreaks and the viral loads and that, and don't get me wrong, the H5N1 could be pretty bad with bloodshot eyes, but it's amazing we're starting to see all these outbreaks of all these diseases, these viruses, and this sickness when we open our borders. That should probably tell our elected officials that let's close the border for that safety thing that they push for so long. If we would close our borders, we wouldn't see this. So this outbreak's happening. Now they're saying, again, if you have low immunity and you're in these areas in California, these big cities, just be wary because this is a bacterial infection. Unlike the other one in 2020, unlike a lot of the colds and flus and viral loads that we get, we can tend to shake those off. There's not really anything to help us other than building our own immunity. With bacterial infections, this is a big deal. We need to make sure that we're prepared to have the precautions such as antibiotics. We need to make sure that we are doing all that we can to stay healthy and to stay in better areas. If we start seeing these kind of outbreaks, for instance, measles outbreak is starting to kick back off in these shelters, tuberculosis, and then again, we're not even talking about the H5N1, and now this new strain of COVID. Have you heard about that? It's starting to ramp back up. So we are now seeing the protests, which is a 2020 rehash. Now we're starting to see outbreaks, which is a 2020 rehash. It literally looks like we are living it all over again. Emergency has been declared for tuberculosis in the California city. What to look for and the dangers of it. Authorities in California has declared a health emergency last week due to the outbreak of a tuberculosis in Long Beach. Authorities in California declared this emergency on May 2nd to increase the resources in tracking and screening to treat people that have been exposed in outbreak of areas. Now listen to this. It is linked to mostly hotels. Who stays in hotels right now? As of the 29th of April, there are 14 cases. In addition to the single death, there has been a death. 9 have been hospitalized, and at some point 170 people have been exposed and have been identified. This outbreak is currently isolated to this distinct population. And they said, well, again, the general public is safe as long as they are doing all they can to stay away from this area. So they're almost kind of quarantined in this area. The facility is a private hotel not operated by the contract of the city of Long Beach. However, they are trying to get containment of it. Tuberculosis is caused by bacteria that is usually attached to the lungs and attacks the lungs, and it spreads through the air when an infectious person coughs or sneezes. So if you're in this area, the Long Beach area, the California area, be careful, be wary, but it's in the areas that we tend to put people who don't have homes there. They said that a lot of people that are homeless and a lot of people that are moving through hotels and staying on the streets and going into the public health department to get tested, just to be wary, because this is where they're seeing a lot of these outbreaks. Doesn't that make you say, well, why don't we just close the border? And in Chicago, we talked about the measles outbreak and how important it is that we close our borders, because now we're seeing some of those things that we eradicated for so long in America, in a first world country, where these third world country almost diseases and sicknesses are coming back because we haven't been exposed for so long. But now, because we're not checking ourselves at the border, we're not taking care of our people here in America, we're now seeing these crazy outbreaks in these areas that tended to bring a lot of people not from America in. And we have not learned our lesson. This is where I stress out. And the reason I make these videos is because I want us to realize what we're dealing with. And this is why I tell you, prepare, be a prepper, be a homesteader, and try to raise your family as much as you can. Not secluded, but that you build immunity, build a common sense approach, and build a betterment to your family, and try to build a structure of health and not eating off town foods. Listen to this. Syrian hamsters now have died due to the Chinese engineering a new horrific Ebola enhanced virus. So now again, we're still trying to figure out what we could do to make these diseases jump from person to person, thing to thing. We saw this with H5N1. We saw this with what they told us with bats, with the one from 2020. We're to a point where we are building these bioweapons to ultimately cause for population problems. It doesn't matter what you think about it. It becomes warfare. So if instead of seeing hot war with missiles and nuclear, we're going to start seeing more chemicalized or bioweapon style sicknesses go around our populations all over the world, and that's going to be the new quote-unquote way of terror. I mean, we are building an Ebola that is killing things that we wanted to enhance to even be more deadly than before. We are now allowing migration to happen all over the world, to where now we're starting to see measles, tuberculosis, and these monster outbreaks in populations that have not built up enough antibodies against it, because they haven't had these kind of diseases for so long, to now it's making people sick, making people get hooked back on some kind of medicine and putting them in the hospital, where there's been deaths of all this. Bleeding from the eyes, H5N1. The story was a few years ago, remember, the story was a few years ago that H5N1, the avian flu, would never jump from a different host. But guess what? There was a funding by a billionaire that was helped to funding those genetically modified mosquitoes not too long ago, and the one who helped modify the situation with the one of the things in the arm at 2020 also wanted to modify the avian flu and to see if they could do some kind of gain of. We're literally seeing this stuff happen right before our eyes, and when we see our powers that be doing this maneuvering to where they can see if they can enhance a virus, for what? There's two reasons people enhance viruses. There's two reasons they do this trial. It's two, and they're both bad for us. One is they say we want to learn how to eradicate it and face it if it grows and mutates on its own. So then they build things that go in your arm. They build more pharmaceuticals to help solve the issue. So it makes billions of dollars for the pharmaceuticals. The other option is we want to see it mutate because we have a general purpose and a sinister evil purpose for it. This is why a lot of times they say China and things like that develop these, is so they can use them as biological weapons. That's the only two reasons. Why else would we build viruses and enhance viruses to then kill the host? That's about the only reasons. Why do we keep seeing the 2021 mutate? Now we have a new mutation that's called some kind of weird name that they just named it, but we've got a new variant now. And it seems like it always happens around election years. I don't know why. But it always helps panic ensue into our population, so then therefore they can control the population and what they're wanting. If it be through giving tons of things in the arm. Remember, they just said that some of the biggest pharmaceuticals are starting to work on an H5N1 shot. So we can make sure the population is safe just in case it gets a little intense and it starts mutating more into humans. So here's my play. Here's what I'm doing. I'm literally going to make sure my immunity of my family is at the very best. So that means they're eating peak foods and not trash from fast foods or trash from a grocery store that's overly processed. I'm going to make sure they stay away from man-made foods when we can have earth-made foods and God-made foods that God gave us, such as true good animals that farmers are growing, not industrial farmers, but that true regenerative farming practices. I'm going to make sure that we're building our immunity up because we're taking in good foods and not bad foods. At the same time, if we open our body to taking more medicines, what we're doing is actually causing our body to be more dependent on medicine. So therefore, we try to stay away from medicines. Now, should you have emergency prepared medicine? Yes. Should you buy some over-the-counter things? Yes. But when we all of a sudden get a little sickness or get a little virus or get a little something, you know, that we're just needing medicine for, learn to stay away from medicine and look at herbal remedies, look at ways to heal it with food. Food is the ultimate healing of our body. Food can help us deter all these things that are starting to fight our bodies and all these outbreaks that we're starting to see in these areas. So you can't lock down. You can't tell your family to never go outside. That's the point. That's what they're wanting you to do. The point is you have to build your immunity up, eat quality foods, and make sure you're getting good nutrients and good vitamins, and that's from grounding yourself every day in sun and in the grass and trying to stay away from this garbage food that they're giving you. They're going to keep enhancing viruses. They're going to keep enhancing diseases. Why? One of two reasons. But the bottom line is, to keep your family safe, you've got to start being more prepared and staying away from these, of course, congested areas. But also, if they're not going to close the border, which it doesn't look like they're going to, the only way to make sure that you're safe is to build your immunity up, clean your diet up, get healthy, so that way these things won't affect you as much. And prepare. It's crazy. It's crazy that we're even talking about this. It's crazy for the last 4 years. That's all we've talked about. But it doesn't look like it's getting any easier, because now we've got outbreaks of all kinds, not just one kind. It's something to think about. Don't panic, but be prepared. That's what I would challenge you to do. It looks like we need term limits and get rid of the Congress and to close the border. All those are wish lists, and I don't think we're going to get those done. So it takes you now saying, I'm going to gain wisdom and do better. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Is it something that we should worry about? We see panic kind of ensuing in this Long Beach area in California. We see outbreak in these migrant areas. We also see the fact that now we have bloodied eyes from people that are getting this avian flu. Now they're wanting to build pharmaceuticals for it. It's a lot going on. And it's coincidentally the same kind of situation where we're in an election year. Be wary, be careful, be mindful, and be prepared. Remember, the boy who cried wolf, kind of like the government always tells us, like we talked about with the hurricanes. We get a hurricane all the time, and it's no big deal, and all of a sudden, it's a big deal. Be prepared, so that way it's insurance for you. That way, if something is really serious, you've got the preparedness done. If it's not that serious, good. You have prepper's insurance basically by saying, I'm going to have food, I'm going to have good health, and I'm going to do all I can to prepare my family just in case something goes wrong. Outbreaks are serious, some less, some more, but the bottom line is if you're prepared, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter the hysteria. It doesn't matter the panic, because you'll be ready. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.